REPO, the newest game in the Lethal Company genre, or as I call it, the quota genre. You have probably seen clips online about the funny little robot game.
Oh my, what?
But, if you haven't, I'll tell you what REPO is. REPO is a game where you and your fellow semi-bots are sent to abandoned buildings to repossess items while avoiding monsters that hunt you down. REPO released back in February, so it's still pretty new. You would probably expect that there isn't much lore in this pretty new game, but that is where you're wrong. In today's video, I'll talk about what I think is truly going on in REPO. This is the REPO Wizard Conspiracy. Throughout REPO, you encounter many monsters while doing your job. These monsters consist of living scarecrows, hunters, floating heads, and, importantly, the garden gnomes. These gnomes do a few things: attack the player, attack your loot, and just try to cause mayhem in groups. You can easily kill them by just throwing them against a wall or something.
I've been roaming around, always looking down at all I see.
Now, you might be thinking, Sam, these are just gnomes. They are a trope used a lot in media, so why would they be important to the lore? Well, in REPO, all monsters are killable. They can be thrown against walls, shot at, or thrown into a pit. And when a monster dies, it drops this orb. This is the monster's soul or something. All monsters drop these orbs, except the gnomes. And, unlike the other monsters in REPO, the gnomes shatter.
Is there an item in there you're trying to tell me?
So, if they aren't a living organism, and they aren't an inanimate object, then how are these things alive? It's not like they're robots or something, since we see nothing robotic appear once shattering them. No circuits, no wires, no nothing. But these things aren't the only monsters with lore details under the surface. Now, there's another monster that is important to this theory, and that is the floating head. The floating head is one of the most difficult monsters in game. If he spots you, he'll fly towards you and try to bite you. It doesn't seem that deadly, but he does a ton of damage. But on one of the maps, Headman's Manor, we find a lot of weird things. Underground tombs, big pits, and a graveyard. Now, that is weird on its own, having a graveyard in this mansion, but when taking a closer look, we find this. Why does the floating head have a gravestone? It's not like the floating head is dead or anything, since we can kill it, so why is this gravestone here? Now, take a look at the name of this map, Headman's Manor, and then look at the grave. It is very faint, but I believe you can make out the word head. Headman. This is also backed up by the fact that in the files, they refer to the floating head as Headman. So, the reason this gravestone of the floating head is here is because this was his mansion. He was buried alongside all of the valuables in his mansion. So, now that only leaves one question. How is he alive? Now, what if I were to tell you that this theory goes way deeper than just these two monsters? This theory explains all monsters in REPO. Now, in REPO, another map we go to is Swiftbroom Academy.
That is not correct.
This is a wizard's academy, basically. You know, think of Hogwarts or Hogwarts. You can find items like magic staffs, brooms, and other wizard-like items down here. We can even see rooms where students would most likely be taught spells. And we see cauldrons for potions. But when you go to the school now, it is empty, with nobody being there except for the headmaster. He is the only skeleton in that building. So what if his students had something to do with his death? What if his students killed him, letting them do whatever they wanted to do? So, I believe that these wizards are the reason all of these monsters inhabit the earth, and that these monsters were actually once human. I'm going to list some monsters that help with this theory. The chef, a chef who was turned into a frog. The clown, a clown who was turned into this fish-like creature with a literal laser nose. And the rugrat, a baby who was given immense strength. Now, there is one part of this section left. I believe that the wizards were able to resurrect people. And not just resurrect people, but just give life in general. The headman was brought back to life after the wizards found his grave. The bangers, skulls and other bones that were given life. And the gnomes, a collection of regular garden gnomes that were given life. Now, this script was made a couple months ago, and since then, REPO has gotten a new update. This includes new items, upgrades, and, most importantly, a new map, the museum. Now, this map doesn't have too much relevance to my theory. It is just some old abandoned art pieces that are just slowly rotting away. When I saw this, I didn't think too much of it. It really doesn't add anything to my theory. That is, until I watched the developer's video about this update. Now, the developers of REPO post pretty regularly to their official YouTube channel, talking about changes to REPO, future plans, and like Q&As and stuff. So, I was watching their video on the new beta update, not even thinking about the theory, and then I saw this on screen.
Paintings and other things covering the walls. Things covering the walls.
That is art of a wizard. Now, alone, this is still more evidence to my theory, but it shows something I could never expect.
Paintings
In the photo,
and other
the wizard
things
is holding up a
covering
blank
the
phone,
walls.
but at the very end, we see what is on the phone get drawn. Is that the taxman? Wait. So if I'm understanding this painting right, is this suggesting that the taxman is a wizard? And that was the REPO Wizard conspiracy theory. Thank you all for participating in today's video. I hope you liked it. This isn't my usual form of content, but I really like the idea of making a theory video for this game. since, I just love playing REPO. If you want more theories, let me know. Consider hitting the subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. And with that all out of the way, I've been Sam. I'll see you guys soon with my next video. Peace.
Why is Turtle just moving? Turtle's just moving?
Sticks just killed Emil. You guys see that? You guys see that? Oh my gosh!